it means don't fight with all of your talent in order to make it more interesting.
Exactly. Do not. What did Darnell tell us? He ain't seen nothing yet. That's a scary thought.
Professional boxers, and there's just real little fun ways of making a little turn and shift and totally getting an advantage from it. And I go, goodness, show this to me in slow motion so I can follow it.
Exactly.
And he's very casual about it. He's an extremely well-trained, highly skilled, polished boxer.
Mm-hmm. That's why I'm such a big fan of Lomachenko. Which first time I ever saw him fight, he was just a kid. It was in '07 in Chicago at the World Championships. It was when he suffered his lone amateur loss out of 397 fights. And I said, "Wow, this kid's the truth, man." Right now already. I mean, look at the way he turns people around and so on. And like you talking about hit from angles. Pacquiao had an ability to hit you from straight ahead and come from the side. What I mean by that is, like, you put your hands up. Most people, you're taught basic defense early, tuck chin. People use tennis balls, different things. You keep your chin tucked, so on and so forth. And, if you throw a jab, you keep your, for an orthodox fighter, you throw the left jab, you keep your right hand high, so on and so forth. And Pacquiao had a unique ability to be able to swing from straight ahead and come around that or through it. And I've seen him do a lot. Now, there's the Pacquiao of late did the same thing. That's all debatable. And I don't want to get into that yet because we have a Bradley Pacquiao three show special we have to do. So for Sirius XM, so I don't want to get into all that yet, but we will talk about that. We got the Porter Thurman fight now that it's been signed. I got it's not a 3 show special. We do have something to do on it. And it's actually that fight's happening before Bradley Pacquiao. I will say this that if you give me 10 minutes with Sean Porter, you give Jacob 10 minutes with Sean Porter, Keith Thurman is beat. I will say that. Keith Thurman has one punch power though. I mean, at one time is for real. It was a video I seen the other day where he talked about the real difference in Pacquiao Bradley 3 isn't Pacquiao and Bradley, it's Teddy Atlas. And I was kind of impressed with him saying that.
That could very well be true.
Yeah, I mean, he said that's what makes this fight interesting. That's what's going to make him buy the pay-per-view. And I thought about it,
Teddy is better at getting straight to the point of what a fighter has to do to get an advantage against the other one.
Exactly. He is a master.
He never misses on that. And I have never seen his equal on that.
No, me neither. I haven't either. And see, people made fun and laughed about that fireman speech. Let me tell you something, guys. I'm going to let y'all in on a little secret inside the world of boxing. Do you not think about this a minute, in today's modern technology, that somebody in the other corner has somebody that knows what the other corner is saying? Think about it, just for a second. Between rounds. You see what I'm saying, Professor?
Yeah.
Okay, with today's technology...
Which is taken both ways. If you got somebody who understands boxing enough, that would be one way that you would be right. But the other way would be he's reading his lips, or he's got really good ears.
Yeah, and that's why, and I've heard people make fun of that fireman speech they give him. He was actually giving him instruction without the world knowing what the hell he was telling him, okay? And because you are, in today's world, social media, nothing is private anymore, damn near. Nothing. And thank goodness for social media, or we wouldn't have this platform. So.
I guess that you could have a spy very close to ringside.
Exactly. That's what. Teddy is one of the most brilliant boxing minds I've ever seen. He really is. I mean, he knows the sport. He really, and Max Kellerman is actually very, and I got a shout out for Max Kellerman every chance I get.
Similar in his perceptions to diagnosing what needs to be done to Emmanuel Stewart.
You talking about Teddy?
Yeah, do you see a similarity in the way those two diagnose the situation?
Yes, I do. I actually, that's a good point. I do. I really do. The difference in training styles between the two is only this. All right, Emmanuel believed in maintaining distance. If you start watching once he took over Klitschko, all right, he believed in maintain distance, keep your distance, keep your advantage, use your advantage. You know what I'm saying? Teddy is more of a guy that he's more into setting traps. I don't know how many people actually know what I'm talking about, but more into, and I'm talking, when I say setting trap, I'm not talking about like throw a punch and feint. I'm not talking about throwing a feint. I'm talking about 2, 3, 4 rounds deep. I mean, who in the world would have predicted, we did, predicted Bradley to knock out Brandon Rios? We actually predicted that, to finishing. Bet on it even. So I bet a parlay. Him and Lomachenko under 11 was the parlay. I thought, and then Lomachenko had me more worried than Bradley did, because I'm like, why is he toying with this kid? You know, what is he doing? But he ended up finishing him off. You know, I said he's winning every round handily. He eventually knocked him out, but he ended up finishing. And I ended up hitting that parlay. But I went to that fight, and let's get into.
By going a few rounds deep into the strategy is to set up a pattern of moves, things, punches, and get the opponent used to it, and then all of a sudden when he's a little bit off balance to change the pattern and hit him with the freight train punch.
Exactly what I'm talking about. And that's the difference, and that's the only difference in their training. That was the philosophy difference between the two. As far as breaking down what a fighter needs to do, they're almost dead on. That was a great point you made there. They were both great at that. I can remember Emmanuel Stewart, before he ever took over Vladimir. This was when Vitaly Klitschko fought Lennox Lewis. He said he told him, if Vladimir reaches 75-80% of his potential, he's going to make the heavyweight division boring for the next decade. Wow.
Yeah, he sure did.
And has it really been that bad a division, or has he been that good? You know, that's the topic we could have later on. Now we got to get into our next fight. And this is an MMA fight, guys. This is Royce Gracie, the original UFC champion. You know, Mr. Take on all, 400-pound. He fought 400-pound guys and all. You know, what could he do against today's Conor McGregor? Okay. All right. I just recently did an episode of the top 10 greatest fighters alive, and I combined boxers and MMA fighters, period. All right. I don't know if I podcasted it or not. I'm not sure. But I know I did it live, and I'm looking at live numbers. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. But what would happen, you know? Well, you know, Royce Gracie's getting ready to fight Ken Shamrock again. This is coming up, Bellator. I guess they're going to allow wheelchairs in the ring. I don't know. I'm not quite in the cage. I'm not sure. But now I'm just cracking a funny, you know, because they originally fought first time, 93, I believe, something like that. And here it is 22 years later, 23 years later, actually. 22 and a half, technically. But, and they're going at it again. It's Gracie Shamrock 3. And it's Bellator 149, I believe, something like that. And I like Scott Coker. That's my favorite. That's where I try to lead all my MMA guys, all our MMA guys, toward them, because the sponsorship deal with UFC. I won't get into all that again. I done got mad about that and had an episode on that and blew my fuse and cut fighters out of $100,000 a fight. Whenever you're only paying them $15,000 to $20,000, you're going to take another $75,000 to $80,000 they were making in sponsorship money from them because you want to sign a. Yeah, I'm talking about you, Dana White. Okay, because you want to sign a deal with Reebok to make every fighter wear the same thing. Well, then Reebok messed up so bad, we had Jose Silva, not Jose Aldo, and Anderson Aldo. That was the stuff they were selling for the UFC. They couldn't even get it right. I'm like, wow, Lord, help! You're going to sign, at least hire somebody that knows what the hell the sport's about. You know. Now the professor's not an MMA guy. He's not that. Now, I'm gonna make a prediction on this Gracie McGregor fight. McGregor finishes him in round 1. Plain and simple. I'm going to tell you why. And this is why I consider Conor McGregor. Did I rate him number 1 pound per pound MMA guy alive today? No, I had John Bones Jones at number 1. All right, number 2, I had Conor McGregor. But the thing about it is, Conor McGregor is the first MMA fighter I have seen that lives by a philosophy that we've long known in boxing. Precision and timing will beat speed. Okay? He lives by that. Look at the 13-second knockout he just had on Jose Aldo, who has been the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world for almost a decade. And he ain't like he's old. They're both under 30 years old, guys. I mean, he lives by that. So Royce Gracie, I think, never has a chance to get him to the mat. And Gracie was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu specialist. Matter of fact, his family is the art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the Gracie art. You know what I mean? Gracie Bar, I'm friends with quite a few of them. You know, Rodrigo Gracie, Roger Gracie, several of them. And I got Luis Ruiz up in New York. He works with all of our MMA guys, and he does a great job. Tremendous superstar. But Conor McGregor, he's getting ready to be the first guy. If he wins this fight at 197, which we're having a live episode on March the 5th, if he wins that fight, he'll be the first man in the history of UFC to hold 2 titles simultaneously in 2 different weight divisions, which is going to lead into my next fight, which is a boxing match. And it's Henry Armstrong against Floyd Mayweather. What you got up next, Professor?
Okay, in the second bracket, which has Jack Dempsey against Joe Frazier and Muhammad Ali against Max Baer. Taking Jack Dempsey and Joe Frazier first, Dempsey was really bigger than most of the fighters of his time, 6'1", perhaps 194 pounds. He had a composite record of 54 wins, 6 losses, 9 draws, 44 by KO, and he was knocked out 1 time by fireman Jim Flynn. That was one of those first round didn't get warm jobs before he was a champion. Mm-hmm. And Joe Frazier was 5'11 and a half, around 215 pounds at his best.
The original Mike Tyson, huh?
He lost only 4, drew 2. 27 of his victories were KOs, and he was KO'd 3 times himself, twice by George Foreman and a TKO by Muhammad Ali in the last fight. He was a relentless pressure fighter, and he had a murderous left hook, which if it landed, it scored a highlight victory.
Yes, it did.
But against the greatest fighters, that did not happen. Jack Dempsey was also a pressure fighter, but he had power in both hands. And because Joe Frazier would be fighting against a really, really good fighter who would be somewhat bigger in the modern era, I'm going to say that it's a real grueling fight. TKO 12 rounds, Jack Dempsey.
TKO 12 rounds, Jack. Okay. Dempsey, was it 54 wins he had?
6-1.
I'm trying to think of how many newspaper decisions he had. A lot of people don't realize that back during his era, you had what is called newspaper decisions. I'm trying to think. Do what now?
I said right.
And I'm trying to recall off the top of my head exactly how many he had. He didn't have a lot of them, which is you got some fighters had tons of them, which some of them don't get credit for. You know, some sites like BoxRec even.
Most of his fights, so there's no need for a newspaper decision most of the time.
Exactly.
He was a real first-class puncher.
He sure was. He was a hell of a fighter. Okay, now you take Joe Frazier on the other side. He's got 4 defeats, and who were they to, guys? during the golden era of heavyweights, as it's called. Who were they to?
That's right, George.
Huh?